I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Oops, the podcast. Giulio Gallerati, Ryan Lynch.
Hey, I think we're in a new spot.
New pod studio.
Where are we?
We're here. We're doing it. This place is going to be such a place for us, and we're excited about it. So welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening. We have a great guest today. Good pal of mine. I love her. She's hilarious. Veteran in this game. We were just chatting before the show. Very interesting person too, who I've always enjoyed how I've learned a lot about her too during the time that I've known her. Anyway, Hanna Dickinson, everybody, welcome.
That's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean it all.
Wow, that's so thoughtful.
So anyway, I saw Hanna the other day. We were doing a new joke show together. She was very funny, and I remember that she has not yet done the show. So I wanted to ask you to come on. So good to see you.
Excited to do it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I have a lot of things I want to talk about with you, but first and foremost, I mean, we just talked about something that I guess you've apparently talked about a bunch. I somehow missed it in this whirlwind of all these comedians who it's impossible to keep up with. But I would love to talk about this initially.
Yeah.
If you're open to it.
I'm open to it.
All right. So maybe, you can introduce it better since I just heard it for the first time. So if you'll tell us the story briefly and then we can talk about it.
Well, it was a pretty big story, but I think there are so many gynecologists that are creeps. People are like, oh, you went to Michigan? You were a gymnast at Michigan? I was like, no.
I know people who got touched by him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just know a bunch of girls who've been touched.
Hey,
But yeah, I went to USC and the gynecologist has been molesting women since 1989.
Okay.
And I saw him for my first pap smear.
Before you were born.
Yeah.
He's been molesting people before you existed. That's before you were conceived.
Yes.
That's a long run.
It's a long run. And I saw him and I had a UTI. And for men, maybe you don't know this, you don't need to have a pap smear for a UTI. You can just pee into a cup. But this man insisted I had one because he found out I was a virgin. He insisted.
Can you define what is a pap smear? Just in case someone doesn't know.
Like you put your leg in for those. You mean you?
Lynch is just catching stray bullets these days, dude. Poor guy.
There's someone listening that is on my side with this. But yes,
okay,
if you could.
all right, yeah. You put your legs in the stirrups, and they do some swabs and check you for diseases. They check you for. Yeah, just like regular STDs, but they'd use the swabs. And this guy had me in the stirrups. He was using his fingers. And it was taking a long time. And to the point where I was like, laughing because I'm so uncomfortable. And he goes, ooh, we got a giggler on our hands.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
It was shit like that. And then I had lost my virginity. And he goes, I hate to burst your bubble, but your hymen's still intact. So you're still a virgin. In a way that was just like so creepy. I was like, what is happening? And my first comedy thing I ever did was a blog. So my first comedy blog ever was I lost my virginity to the USC gynecologist.
Oh, damn.
So I used that in a comedy blog that ended up helping me win this lawsuit.
So you're sort of like the Hannibal Buress to Bill Cosby of this gynecologist. Did you begin it, or this just added on to the mountain?
This just added on to the mountain because I wasn't going to sue originally. I saw the article. It came out in the LA Times and I started crying because I was at work and I was like, I knew it. It was one of those things where I had always felt like it was a weird experience. I had told people about it. People told me I was dramatic, and I am dramatic. I am a storyteller. So
I don't find you to be dramatic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess you don't know me that well, but no, I felt very dramatic, and I was like, well, I'm not going to, he's the doctor at the end of the day. But then when I read the article, I just had all these emotions because I was like, I feel so gaslit for so many years.
Totally.
And so I had a joke about it. And then my friend who was in my sorority randomly came to a show, and she was like, why aren't you in on this lawsuit with Gloria Allred?
You're like, tell me more.
Yeah, I was like, tell me more. So she had met with Gloria Allred, who repped like all Bill Cosby's victims.
Oh, wow.
So she's a pretty big lawyer. And you know, she has a Netflix documentary about her. She's this huge name, and I had no idea who she was, so I called the law firm and I was like, "Can I speak to Gloria, please?" And they were like, "You mean Mrs. Allred?" Like, no, like you can't just speak to her. And I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure I can. Like my friend told me to call." And then they were like,
"Who's your friend, lady?"
yeah.
Wait, like my friend like literally told me to call.
Yeah, I was such an idiot. And then they connected me with another lawyer and they brought me on. I was the last person to be brought on. Wow. And then I ended up winning this lawsuit. They had to pay it out over 2 years because the school had to pay out over $1 billion.
Wow.
Oh my God.
But his favorite, he liked virgins, obviously, but he liked Asian women and women who were English was their second language.
Got it.
So girls were coming over from China and he was fully fisting them. Like it was insane.
Oh my God.
Anyway, his trial was like 2 months ago and he killed himself the night before.
Wow.
So
Probably a good course of action, I would say. But you
Nothing
think he
said
got
that-
off easy?
I kind of do.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have been killed in jail. And I
Right.
think he knew that. So I think he took the coward way out. But obviously someone who's molested women for 20 years isn't going to be a hero at the end of it.
Right. There's no way. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's not make this guy into a martyr here. I want to talk about you.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so that's the story.
What a story. Holy shit. Good for you. You deserve it.
Thank you.
How many people were in on the lawsuit? You said you were the last one in.
Yeah, I was Jane Doe number 72, but there were other lawyers who had people. So everyone at least, I guess I shouldn't.
You don't have to. You don't have to
Yeah.
air yourself out like that.
Everyone at least got 7 figures.
Come here, Lynch.
But then lawyers take 30%.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's 6.
Right.
But
Whatever. Something.
it's still more than I made in comedy.
Yeah,
you know?
good for you. That rules.
My comedy blog was the only thing to make me money. that blogging comedy. So.
Okay, so I want to talk more about the moment where you were being violated by this guy. So very slowly. Oh, no, I'm joking. Okay, so he's obviously saying weird shit. He's like, "Oh, your hymen's still there. Oh, you're a giggler." Okay, what were there other weird things he was saying that you remember?
It was just when he insisted I had the pap smear, it was so aggressive that I was like, why? Why do you? I was like, I really don't feel comfortable. I never had a pap smear. I heard it hurt and I didn't want a guy to do it. And then he got a curtain out. So it was just me and him behind this curtain and the nurse would come in, but the curtain was separating him. And it just took a long time. And like, I've never had a pap smear. Usually they take 5-10 minutes. This took 30 to 45 minutes.
Got it.
Wow.
And he is sort of exploring a bit.
Yeah.
But not doing, okay, so was he doing anything that could be considered like if you were in bed with a guy you were hooking up with, like foreplay? Or was he trying to hide it as some sort of scientific?
He was definitely trying to hide it
Got
as
it.
something scientific, like feeling the walls, which you don't need to do for herpes. I have herpes now.
Did you have it then?
No. Yeah, but no, you don't have to feel the walls. It's pretty clear when you have an STD. And
Yeah,
also that's
right.
what swabs are for.
Okay, so he's feeling the walls. It was difficult for me to repeat that phrase. He's feeling around. Okay, this looks normal. This looks normal. Yeah. So, okay, doing that, saying weird shit. So some of the shit he's saying to you is like typical creepy guy shit, but it's way, way worse when you're inside someone's vagina and saying it.
Exactly.
It's literal molestation as opposed to being a creepy guy.
Yeah.
You look good in that dress. Like you can get away with that as long as your fingers are not walling.
In
Right?
an orifice.
Scaling the walls like Spider-Man within.
Yeah.
And any other gynecologist I've had, if I've been like, they're like, I'm sorry. Was that an uncomfortable thing? Did I make you feel uncomfortable? Not, we got a giggler.
That's crazy. Not, you like that?
Yeah. That's such an insane thing to say.
Oh my God.
Not like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Did I hit something? Like, this guy was like, we got another one. And that's where I was sitting there like, what is this going to be over?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of have to lie back and literally I was like, I've never had. And then I didn't have one for 3 years because I was like, these are so uncomfortable.
Wow. So did you ever feel bad about this experience, or was it one of those things that you asked people, was that weird? And they're like, sometimes, and then you just never thought about it again?
I mean, it deterred me from going back. So I didn't go back
to the gynecologist.
Yeah, I didn't go back till after college, and it was a woman. But I remember being like, oh my God, pap smears are so uncomfortable. Like, this is so, but I associate it with a pap smear, not so much. I definitely didn't ever want to see that guy again, but
Right.
It was more like, oh, that's the experience, because that's what he made it out to be. He was the doctor. Right. And then when I told people, like, I called my mom afterwards when I was leaving. I was like, oh my God, I just had the weirdest pap smear. My mom was like, why'd you have a pap smear? And I want to be like, because I just fucked a guy in a basement. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have a UTI. And I just also I thought I had lost my virginity, and I didn't, you know?
Wait, but like, what does that even mean? So just technically speaking, since whatever is still intact, that means that you're still a virgin? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
to me,
also,
that's sort of a bogus argument in general.
I mean, he couldn't stay hard. It was a horrible experience.
Okay. So he kind of crammed it in. Maybe.
And I was like, oh, that's my virginity. And the doctor was like, no, it wasn't.
Right.
So
it's sort of like the first time you smoke weed, but you didn't get high.
Exactly.
That's pretty good.
Placebo sex.
Thank
you.
Yes. Okay. So the whole experience, the whole 24 hours of it all was just a weird fucking experience where I thought I lost my virginity. I didn't. I thought I had a weird pap smear. Everyone told me I didn't. So I was like, let's just chalk this up to be a weird experience.
Right. Okay. So you never it didn't, besides the gynecologist aversion that you developed from it, did you ever like feel bad about yourself, or it affected your personal life somehow? Did it affect you mentally otherwise?
I think it gaslit me into not trusting doctors.
Got it. Okay.
Like I've been to a male gynecologist, but I knew he was gay. Like got it. I was like, oh, I don't want a male gynecologist, and then I met him, and I was like, oh, he's fine.
Got it.
But he too was like very rude. He'd be like, just very critical of my lifestyle. So men in general, I don't like going to male gynecologists, and I just don't trust doctors as much. But I wouldn't say I didn't have dreams about it or anything. But now, after it came out that I was right about the situation, now when I have an instinct, I'm like, okay,
right, this is weird.
Yeah.
Yes. And
trusting yourself, even with guys in general, of like, this isn't okay, I shouldn't be treated like this.
Right.
But when someone's telling you something and they're wearing a lab coat, you're like,
right, well, he knows.
Yeah. And I think also the problem with USC is the president found out about it in like 2007, or maybe it was 2012. It was some weird time, and he covered it up because he didn't want to have lawsuits. So that's what made the lawsuit even bigger.
And how many years went by before it
came out in 2019.
So over 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he had to step down as a president. It was a whole thing.
If we did have a reality in which we only had to sleep for 10 minutes a day, we could spend a lot of time cooking up some meals.
That's true.
The only thing that's kind of tough about that is that that's not how the world works.
Sadly, Ryan, that is not how the world works.
Yeah, you have to go to the grocery store, then you got to bring it home, then you got to clean everything, then you got to cook everything, and then you have to clean everything.
Totally.
And then don't forget about eating it too. It just takes up way too much time. So that's why in this reality that we do live in, I'm grateful that we have Factor meals.
100%, man. It's so convenient. It's so easy. Chef crafted meals. They're delicious. They're so fast, and you get everything that you need so that you can eat your food and go on with your busy day. Truly love Factor. I like the variety, all sorts of different cuisines, different ethnic kind of foods, and also stuff that's like slightly more straightforward. Overall, just a really solid, varied experience, which I like. Eating the same thing every day is boring to me, and Factor mixes it up nicely. So it always kind of keeps you on your toes, and you're eating something new and delicious and different.
From snacks to smoothies and more, discover a wide variety of easy options for the entire day, like breakfast, midday bites, and more. Sign up and save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious.
Love to see it.
So head on over to factormeals.com/oops50 and use code OOPS to get 50% off. That's code OOPS50 at factormeals.com/oops50 to get 50% off.
Okay, so I have one more question about this, and then this will lead us into another important question that I have for you. That's about a separate topic, but we're going to link things together here potentially.
Love that.
Yeah. So have you ever gone to a shrink in general? Do you have a
I have a
therapist? Okay. Is shrink like a dad term? Go to the shrink.
Very Tony Soprano.
Listen, Doc. My dad says that. Doc, what do you? I'm like, Dad, are you serious? What do you think, Doc?
You don't see a shrink, I take it.
I did for many years.
Oh, for years.
I went for medicine, and it was like my insurance was set up where it's like if you want it, you also need to go to a therapist. And then I ended up really finding therapy helpful. So I went for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, but I don't go anymore. But I should. I think everybody maybe should. Whatever. So has your therapist ever tried to convince you that you're fucked up because of this?
No, because I've had just so much more happen since. Is that horrible?
No,
That's so depressing. This is supposed to be a comedy podcast.
No,
Like,
this is.
I've had a lot of trauma.
This is a deep dive podcast.
Yeah.
Okay?
I've had a lot of oops, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
So, well, because you know do you know this?
I don't know.
I don't know. I was abducted and raped by an Uber driver.
I did not know that. Maybe, sadly, this is a thing that happens. So I may be thinking of someone else's story, but I did not know this.
Yeah, so that happened in
like abducted, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so I got the money a month after I got out of rehab.
Because of that experience?
No, because like it took so long for the USC thing to hit that I got it when I got out of rehab for the other thing, and I just went crazy with the money because I wasn't drinking. I don't drink anymore because
so rehab was for drinking?
Rehab was because I was abducted and raped, and then I also just got out of this really abusive relationship, and so my parents were like, where do you go? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't just go out back into the world, so I went to rehab.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Jesus.
It's okay. That's so dark.
No, it's okay. No, we can talk about this. No, it's okay. I'm down to talk about this.
And then so I got out of rehab a month later. I get a fucking ton of money.
From the USC thing,
from
not
the
from
USC.
Uber. I'm assuming you got more on the way from Uber?
I'm currently in a lawsuit with them.
Wow.
Poor
Yeah.
thing. Holy
Just
shit.
like
Jesus.
in and out of court.
So you leave
for
rehab.
this pussy. What?
So you leave rehab.
I leave
you have
rehab.
all this money.
And I have all this money, and I spend it like an NBA player
Good.
drafted
Good
out of
for
high
you.
school.
You deserved it.
I go to Europe. I'm like going to
Good.
Miami. I rented a boat in Miami. I'm like, because I can't drink, so I think the spending was my addictive way of dealing with it.
Wait a second. Okay. Do you come from money? Is that a rude question?
I don't come from like money, but I don't come from, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep, I do. Yeah, like yes, I know. Exactly.
Compared to comedians, I come from money,
Okay,
but
yes, okay.
I didn't go to private school.
Upper middle class, maybe like suburb. Yeah. Some people's parents work in the city. You knew people with money. You're in the middle of the pack situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so you never really had disposable income like this when suddenly you look in your checking account and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So whatever. Like anytime a person who never previously had that has that moment for the first time, you waste it. Everybody does that. You don't need to feel guilty about that.
Yeah. No, well now, because I also had 2 jobs. I was doing well in stand-up. Like I was balling out.
You're
and then
killing
it all stopped. And I'm like looking at my bank account and I'm like, oh, like, what do you do?
Right. Well, hopefully the updated proceedings will go quickly and it won't matter. Yeah. But so, all right, what's the timeline here? When you say quote, it all stopped, what do you mean by that? Like the pandemic, or is that after?
No, in June I was laid off from Comedy Central.
Got it.
In March I was fired from this other job that I had. I worked at this other company that.
Was it like a creative job?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like making memes.
Right, and it's like, these are things that are just the changing of the tide.
Yeah.
Like I sincerely mean this question. Does Comedy Central still exist?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
My friend texted me the other day like, hey, Comedy Central's taking unscripted pitches. I'm like, who? Everyone I know got fired. We all got fired in one Zoom.
Right.
There were like 40 of us.
Yeah.
Just gone.
Right.
And if you go to Paramount's website for jobs now, Comedy Central isn't even a network that exists.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. So I have no idea if it exists. But yeah, it was all changing of networks, and I had Paramount's merging with Paramount and Peacock.
It's a changing landscape, you know, and the thing that sucks about something like that, and I want to get back on track here.
Yeah, I feel like
we got to get back on track here, but you know, you have this great job, it's stable, but still something like this can happen. And when it does, you want to theoretically have hedged for the change, but you don't have time to because you have a job.
Yeah.
So now suddenly you feel like you're starting over again, which is an incorrect feeling, by the way.
Thank you. I need to hear that.
It is. You've built, you know, whatever foundation you have built, whether it's professional experience, whether it's like comedy chops, all of it is different than starting for the first time.
It does feel like I'm starting over.
I've gone through this a bunch of times too. We've been around long enough that this inevitably happens. So, you know, that's all I have to say about it. But
that's good to hear, because I've been like, I feel like I'm starting over, and it's so you have nothing in your bank account, then you have all this money in your bank account, then you have nothing in your bank account, and you're like, fuck, like I really fucked up, and I don't regret it, you know. I still look on Revolve and favorite things. I'm like, I would still spend this money.
Good for you.
But
YOLO.
May I ask, what percentage of the money that you got from the lawsuit did you blow before you had that, oh God, I got to get my shit together moment?
Well, I bought an apartment and I redid the whole thing. So that was a lot of it.
Maybe you've created value there.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Some renos.
Some girl math. You made money.
Look at you being
just
a
not
boss.
yet. You made money in the future.
I love the
and
BDE.
You're just in the past from it.
Yeah, totally. Renting boats, doing renovations, ordering men around. It's really great.
Me and my contractors, I was a huge cunt. They're like, who is this girl? How did you have this money? They probably thought I got it from OnlyFans, which, I mean, similar vein.
If only. It would have been better.
Well, I got onto OnlyFans because I was doing OnlyFans.
The comedy stuff?
The comedy stuff, and you have to make an OnlyFans. So I was like low-key selling my tits in the DMs.
Smart.
But then I accidentally airdropped a pic to my dad when I meant to send it to my computer.
Oh my God.
You'll go to click on your icon for your device, and then your dad's phone will pop up right in front of it and take the place of where your cursor is, and then sends it right to him.
Thank you. Everyone's like, how did you do this? I'm like, it's a lot easier than you fucking think.
It happens. You got to force quit out of Finder a lot.
That is really funny.
So,
well, was it like a close enough? Like, were you able to make an easy excuse?
No.
You were like, I was looking for lumps.
That's my nipple, Dad.
I was looking for lumps.
No, those are. No, it was a $100 pick, so it was not a lump pick.
So you were like doing like a nice.
Was your face in it?
No.
Okay, cool.
But unfortunately, my dad only has one daughter, so he knew it was coming from me, and I have tattoos. It was too late.
Sorry.
So my OnlyFans career is over, just because.
Because of that?
Well, he knew
weird.
I had an OnlyFans from the comedy thing, and he was like, "Are you selling this on OnlyFans?" And I was like, "No, I have a boyfriend."
You're right.
And he was like, "I really hope you're not, and I would really appreciate if you don't." And I have too good of a relationship.
Yeah.
And then it makes you think about things, and he's like, "Do you know how dangerous this could be?" And then you don't even think about that shit.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So there goes that income.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good income for a bit.
Yeah.
For 2 days.
What's like the danger of selling a photo? Especially if your face isn't in it.
Okay, well, have you seen the Playboy murders?
No.
I have not either.
So Playboy used to have a similar OnlyFans style of communicating with fans. They would have phone numbers and they would talk to them, or they would send them photos, or they'd send them merch. And then this guy became so obsessed with this girl, he murdered her and her husband. He found out where she lived and murdered her and her husband. And I literally watched this 2 days after. My dad was like, "Do you know how dangerous this is?" And I was like, I didn't even think, because I mean, guys who are buying pictures of that, they're not killing it with the women probably. And so
yeah, just vibed you out. I will say this, based on the current track record that you have laid out for us as far as certain things that have happened to you, I would say from a probability standpoint, the odds of a person from OnlyFans murdering you has to be slightly lower for you than for other people.
You'd hope. Oh, I thought you were gonna say higher.
I thought you were gonna say higher.
No, but I know that they say that
much higher.
Probability
Sorry.
doesn't like you can't like loop events together from a probability perspective. But like I'm not sophisticated enough to understand that. To me, it means that we're parlaying multiple unprecedented events of assault. And I think hopefully you're in the clear for the rest of your life.
I hope so too.
You have to get unlucky for the way that you have previously for you to get murdered because you're selling an anonymous titty pic.
Yeah.
But I'd argue that your track record of not having good luck would lead to you being more likely to being murdered by someone that you send a titty pic to.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy? It was one picture. I had one picture, and I guess it was two. I had two pictures. $2,500 in 2 days. Yes. That's insane.
That's awesome.
So then you see, but then it's like, you know. I see how girls get carried away, but then
No, like I would definitely be open to selling pictures of my penis. I'm just not sure that anybody wants to see that. And if they did, I don't know about it. And if you do,
how do you think your fiance would feel?
She wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I've sold pictures of my feet.
I've sold pictures. That's not where the money's at, though.
Well, you know, when someone asks you about it and then you expect nothing and then you just take your shoe off outside on a bench and send it to a guy and he sends you $70.
You had $70 for a foot pic?
I got multiple installments of $70 for multiple pictures of my feet. And I was with my girlfriend too. We were in anthropology and I was like, babe, I'll be right back. And I went outside and I sat on the bench. I took my sneaker off, pulled off my sock, took a picture. Foot was ratchet, sent it, got the Venmo right away before I walked back in. Wow. And I was like, dinner's on me. Like, money.
Yeah, I know. I have a hammer toe though, so I think my value is a little lower.
You got to see the hooves on this kid.
Some people might like that though.
Yeah, the most
it's very
I guess
niche.
I've done 100.
100?
For a video of me scrunching my toes.
Oh.
I got offered $1,000 for a blowjob from someone.
He
To
would
receive
pay
a
you
blowjob?
He would pay me $1,000 to receive the blowjob. Yeah.
See, that is straight up sex work.
He tried to groom me too, which I didn't really appreciate. It felt like a little icky. He was like, he explained this whole scenario to me. He's like, why would I want to hang out with some woman who's going to like suck me dry for all my money when I could just like hang out with one of my boys, suck his dick, and then keep watching the game? And I was like, okay.
But he wants
go
to suck
on.
his dick.
When was this?
This is probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And then I was like, and then he started talking about dollar amounts, and it was like, I think he was, I probably 1,000 was sort of the number that seemed likely, and it just didn't seem worth it to me based on like what was up with this dude. Like I would have theoretically done it for more money though.
Where did you meet him? Just on Instagram?
No. Pete brought him around. So this is another one of those things where I'm like, Pete, we all talk about this. I don't like feel like it's weird. Actually, he talks about it more than me. I actually kind of feel bad talking about it. Like the guy never like did anything beyond offer this to me. And then when I said no thanks, he did pull a little bit of a gaslighting move where he's like, a little appreciation would have been, which was weird. But besides that, I'm like, it's fine. He would just hug me for too long and slip $100 in my back pocket. Like it's not, I didn't feel that insulted by it.
He gave you $100 randomly?
All the time. He'd come and be like, I'm so proud of you. And he'd give me this big hug. And he was like a very manly guy. And then he would slip $100 in my back pocket. And then like, you know, Pete and Ricky are more of like, they're not, I don't want to just throw this around, but they're not as comfortable as I am making a silly joke attuned to, haha, every guy has his price. So I was the low hanging fruit of the group. I was the only one who received such a straightforward proposal because I seemed as if I would have been more receptive to it, which is true. So it ultimately just boiled down to like, I would have needed a bit more money for that from him, but I would have potentially done it.
Yeah, I guess if you're getting your dick sucked, it's different than you sucking.
Yeah, I would definitely do that too, though. I'm just saying, like, but it's just the money's different. Like, it's more expensive to suck than to be sucked. in theory.
I could see that.
Yeah. I met someone who knew him, and they were drunk, and they're like, oh, he's fucking gay, that fucking guy. Like, she was like carrying on. She's like, he likes boys, that fucking guy. So like maybe people kind of know. But anyway, so
It sounds like people know.
I didn't hold it against him. To me, I was like, all right, he was just kind of like shooting a shot, and I wasn't interested. But that doesn't mean I like dislike the guy now. It's not, he didn't cross the line enough where I was like, okay, this is like really uncomfortable. I was fine with it.
I think that's the difference between men and women is like, you can do that, and then he can offer $1,000 for a blowjob, and you're like, well, I'll see you. I'll see you later. Yeah. I feel like with women, I'm like, if a guy, I don't know if I could just. I also think men, you could be friends and hang out and have conversations, whereas like men and women, once the rejection hits, it's like, well, what, you know what I mean?
To be clear, I wasn't like spending one-on-one time with him ever again.
Now that you're in Brooklyn, I get to ride a bike to your apartment before we record.
That's very exciting.
To and from, actually.
That's so wonderful.
And you got to dress the part for that whole like Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2 before he gets fired for not delivering the pizzas vibe. And so I get to ride the bike over. I'm a little more relaxed. I'm a little more comfortable. I get to take my time before I come. So I always make sure that I put on my Dr. Motion socks because they are smooth, they're breathable, they have great arch support for a bike rider that is safely trying to get to work. Honestly, they're perfect for anybody that's commuting to and from A to B, no matter what it is. So I love wearing them. We just started working with them and they're super comfortable.
Yeah, I didn't realize that compression socks had such like practical value. Like the way that they hug the bottom half of your leg from the knee down, like free up your feet and your toes and your ankles to just like feel as comfortable as possible. And I've really leaned into that since Dr. Motion socks have come onto my radar. They have a bunch of great styles, whether it's something that's a little more standard, like a solid black, or something with a little bit of more of a fun design. I noticed one that had like beer mugs on it. That was pretty fun.
That was pretty fun.
They have high, low, medium, ankle, like all sorts of different socks and styles for everybody, and great for everyday usage to just make you feel as good as you possibly can. So visit the website drmotionsocks.com to check out the products and explore the new collection. That's DRMOTION socks.com to check them out. We're not going to get into the specifics of the Uber thing just because we want to make sure that Hanna receives her second cash windfall. So we're going to move on. Do you have any general things that you can say to listeners who want to make sure that they can avoid something like this happening?
I would say always check the license plate and always say, who are you here to see? Don't say, oh, are you here for Hanna?
Who are you here for?
Yeah.
And make sure they know your name.
Yeah.
Wow.
And always check the license plate and don't get too fucked up.
Okay.
And a lot of bars, especially in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Miami, guys are just waiting outside clubs. Because this has happened to, I was connected with so many girls that this has happened to. And a lot of girls will just get into a random car and, so they're just waiting there.
My God.
They got a Toyota Corolla, if they got a Kia Soul, they're waiting there for girls to just take them to a parking lot. I would say I was lucky because the guy who did it, he brought me to his foster home. So I woke up, he was probably 17, 18. I don't even know if he was 18. How crazy is that? I think that's why he probably didn't kill me, is because he's so young that I was one of his first. And I feel very lucky by that.
So people getting killed at the end of this is normal?
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my God, dude.
That's crazy.
It's fucked up. Well, be careful, everybody. Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you live to tell the tale and that you are still functioning.
Yeah. I think going to rehab helped me a lot, because then in rehab, I was in deep therapy. I was in trauma therapy, and you hear these stories from other people, and I'm like, yeah, I had a very hard experience, but like overall my life has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Gives you perspective for sure.
Right. Which is a little counterintuitive to me, because it's like, I wouldn't want to have my experience be diminished.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was diminished, but I was like, my life is so this is, I mean, it is a horrible thing that happens, and it was horrible, and it still affects me to this day. I'd say more than, I guess, back when you're saying, did the gynecologist thing affect you? Like, that feels very small compared to this other thing that happened to me that truly changed the course of my entire life. But I just hearing other stories, you don't feel so alone in like trauma, I guess.
Totally. So the point of the program is sort of to, you know, go through the steps that one might need to sort of like get over a traumatic experience, or at least start the process.
Yeah.
And part of that is unfortunately some sort of kind of like trauma bonding with other victims who've gone through something similar.
Yeah. Not even similar. Like, I would say, you know, a lot of people in my group were affected by 9/11. And it's crazy. Like, everyone's like, oh, a 9/11 joke. Is that too soon? I'm sitting there in this trauma group like, yeah, guys, I think it's too soon. Like,
oh my God.
So many people were fucked up from it that
like they lost family members.
They lost family members and then became addicted to like the money they got from, like, one guy's dad died in 9/11. He got a bunch of money. He spent it all on heroin. Like, and this kid's like now 18 years old. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it's
pretty
crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Sad.
But I kind of liked rehab, honestly.
Just like, how long were you there?
A month.
Nice. And was it one of those things where, how long did it take you to get over the FOMO of taking a pause from your life as everyone else's life goes on?
It took me until I met like a really good friend. I met this woman who, she literally reminded me of Chelsea Handler. She was like 50 probably, but we just became such good friends, and we played pickleball every day. I got really good at pickleball. I was pretty addicted to Adderall. She was in there court ordered from an Adderall.
You no longer take Adderall at all?
I don't take Adderall. I would say actually after rehab is when I got so thin from it.
Yeah.
I was addicted to Adderall and spending money.
Okay. So I want to now transition into something more positive, because this is a good...
Is this too negative?
No, it's great. It's great. And I'm curious about this. This is interesting. You know, it's nice for you to get to tell your story to our listeners. I'm sure everyone's going to find it fascinating. I want to talk about some positive stuff in regard to things that I've noticed about you.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. So yes. So first of all, and I know that you said that you lost a bunch of weight when you took Adderall or whatever, but you are still a thin person.
Thank
so
you.
It's not like not being on Adderall has changed that. So I don't want to, the next thing I'm about to say, I don't want people to think that it's specifically about Adderall, but you posted something one time on Threads when people were still using it. And it was a comparison of what you once looked like versus what you currently looked like. And I literally saw that and I was like, that is inspiring.
I used to be pretty big.
No, it was just, look, in a classic before and after fashion, you find a picture where you looked like shit in that moment where you didn't look as good as you currently look, and then you find a ridiculously good picture of yourself in the moment. It wasn't as drastic of a difference, but I saw that and it inspired me to like get my life together physically.
Oh, wow.
Which I have not necessarily done. And I'm fine with however I look, but you looked so great, and it was such an amazing, inspiring glow up that it was sort of unprecedented. I don't know that I've ever seen something like that from somebody who I know personally.
If you post it on
that
Twitter
weird?
instead of Threads, maybe more people would be inspired.
I think it was in my stories too.
I was trying to find it to show him, and I couldn't find it the other day. I was like, dude, you got to see this.
Yeah.
Threads.
Well, I used to drink a lot. So I used to be a really heavy drinker. And I was smoking a lot of weed, and I was eating a lot. My lifestyle was just not good.
And just like generally speaking, this is not in relation to any sort of like traumatic experience, right?
No. I just think...
I was just making that clear.
Yeah, no. I think... Well, I also think what happened was like, get your shit together. Like, what do you want? When I was in rehab, my dad was like, look at... I'm actually might be flipping this, so it's less inspiring, because I'm like, look at your feet, not at the track, or look at the track, not at your feet. Something about like looking... It was one of the two, but it was like, where do you...
It was something inspiring.
It was something inspiring where I was like, where do you want your life to be? And I think that time in that month of like petting horses and, you know, meeting my Adderall addicted Chelsea Handler friend, I was like, where do I want my life to be in 5 years? And it was like, I don't want to be wearing what I was wearing in the before photo. It was like a wardrobe switch. It was like, I want to work out every day. I want to feel good about myself. And I think it really helped me look forward about what I wanted out of life.
Amazing.
I think so. I think that time was great for me.
It's great. Good for you. That rules. Like legitimately, and we talk about this on the show. Like when I see like something like that, like I get inspired by women's transformations more than men's. And not even on a like, ooh, they're attractive. It's like, it makes me want to look like them even though I can't. Isn't that fucking weird?
This is like his life thesis.
Yeah, I'm like, because there's a fitness instructor who I realized this with. I was like, I want to look like her, but that's impossible. But like somehow that just generally inspires me to look good. I'm like impressed by a woman looking amazing. When I see a jacked dude, I'm not like, oh, sick, that guy looks cool. I just think he like looks weird. I'm like, I bet he smells like shit. Like,
yeah,
those clothes are weird. Like if the clothes are too like raggy, they don't look good. But if he's wearing like head to toe Lululemon, no offense, I know you like it, I just think they look weird too. Like black and white camo pants. I'm like, dude, you look like a tool. Like there's no way to look good as a guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess when a guy is like super jacked, it's easy, I think, for a guy to look fine. You know what I mean? Like you don't really care what a guy's body looks like. I feel like women, there's that pressure too. So when a woman, and it's harder for women to lose weight. It's harder to get better looking. I mean, with Ozempic, it's a little less.
You take Ozempic?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
okay.
I also like didn't want to be in a relationship. So I think
Because of all the shit.
because of all the shit.
Yeah.
I think I went on 2 dates and I like started crying. I was like,
Oh
I don't
my
even know this
God.
person. I was like, I can't do this. But now I feel further away from it. But so because I wasn't after a guy, I wasn't drinking. Like I had no distractions really. I could really focus on myself and
Yeah.
be like, what do I want?
It's amazing.
But-
and by the way, that's what vacation should do for you in theoretic. Like this is an extreme version of a vacation, but I think this is why like vacation, travel, I know Mr. Travel Man, but I think it's helpful because by getting out of your routine, you have space in your brain to like look more big picture at your life and you can implement changes.
And we weren't allowed to have our phones. I think not having my phone was the best thing for me. Like I've read 8 books in a month.
Wow.
I got so good at pickleball. That is
Nasty.
It's crazy. Like I played a bunch of guys in business school who all had their own paddles and I whooped their ass. I was
that's
like,
awesome.
they're like, we've been training. I was like, yeah, but did you go to rehab?
Yeah. Fucking B school as they call it.
Yeah.
Losers.
Please. But I think not having my phone truly was the healthiest. I wish that's why, as much as I think social media helps with people promoting themselves and getting discovered without the industry, I think having a phone is the worst.
Yeah. I feel regularly like I can't escape it. I can't do enough. And it's just like this terrible feeling like I'm just like falling into a pit that never ends.
I know. I find a new person on Instagram who's like has a bunch of followers. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
I know.
179,000 followers.
And they're engaged followers. There's like 7,000 comments. You're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. It's over.
It's impossible. And I'm always comparing myself to people. Instagram's broken today. Did you know?
I noticed.
Yeah, we freaked out before you
It's
got
fun. I
here.
found some guy's ID and I was trying to message him and I couldn't. And I was like, oh, that sucks for this guy. And it also sucks for somebody who posted their flagship piece of content today.
Yeah.
That blows.
Yeah.
Because then if you repost it, they think you're posting dupes and you're going to get buried. Hate to see it. Pour
I hate
some
that
out.
so much.
I don't know. I don't even know how the algorithm works. My roommate was like, you got to figure out the algorithm. I'm like, I'm not a goddamn scientist. Like, I don't know how to.
Well, I will say this. I mean, I'm sure you already talk about it on stage, but you could really have an amazing series of one-woman shows in regard to all your trauma.
Yeah. Have you seen the Who the Fuck Did I Marry series on TikTok?
The what?
Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Oh my God. I started it, but there are 29 parts to it or whatever. And this woman.
70.
Have you sat through all of them?
I'm on like 55. I don't know. It's fine.
I started.
I bring my phone in the shower with me. I prop it up, and then I have the setting where it just scrolls up after 10 minutes, and I'm just raisioning in the shower watching her tell her story.
Maybe I'll do that today in
It's
a bath
good.
or something.
Yeah.
But she needs an editor.
No, but that's the beauty of it. it's so authentic. She's just telling the story, and she does a great job at getting you hooked on it, where she's like, we're going to talk about that later. And then she talks about it 20 clips later. I'm just saying
let go of what you learned previously. Okay. It's a new landscape. It's a new world.
Some of your stories, you could do series with that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Yeah. I guess I talk about it on podcasts. I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I think I would hate for people to be like, oh, she's trying to get attention. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Especially as a comedian. If I wasn't a comedian,
you'll figure it out. We're not like, I'm not trying to brainstorm for you. I'm just saying, I just thought that it would, like, you have plenty.
Every
you have plenty
comedian's
to
like,
offer.
have you thought of a one-woman show? And I'm like,
nice.
I don't know who wants to sit through that, but maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'd be able to make it funny. Whatever. Like, you have plenty to offer. You have plenty that you can do. Whatever you work on, I'm sure will be a smashing success. So.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
My number one hype man right here.
Dude, I've been spending a lot of time in the editing suite, so I'm really happy that I have my Lucy breakers.
Oh, thank God.
That sweet, sweet nicotine. You burst that little liquid bubble.
And then it goes a little something like, boom!
Yeah, something like that. It's very satisfying,
Kicks right
very
in.
pure, and very direct. Gets the process going immediately, and it's a nice feeling. Comes in different strengths, 4 and 8 milligrams, and it is really, really pleasant and wonderful.
Yeah, I like the coffee flavor.
Oh, dude, it's
most.
amazing.
Yeah.
Drink with your morning espresso.
100%.
Yeah, and they have sort of like the standard popular flavors, like the mint and the mango, and then they also have a couple of like artisanal flavors, which I think that the coffee one would fall underneath.
Yeah, it's the perfect thing for when you're in like a midday slump. You just need a little something around like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. to get you over the hump. That's when I love to pop into breaker. And I'm also orally fixated, so I just love like just sinking my teeth into it, and then
it's great, dude.
And then it kicks right in. I love it.
So you can save a little money if you do a subscription, because if you know you're going to be using this stuff all the time, you might as well have one. You get 15% off when you do that. There's no commitment. You can cancel at any time. 100% pure nicotine. This is my favorite brand for nicotine products. Clean nicotine to make you a queen. But it is the best, and we recommend it for sure. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/oops and use promo code oops to get 20% off of your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use code oops to get 20% off and always free shipping. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. So, okay, dating. I've heard you talking about on stage, which, by the way, you said something very funny the other day. I don't want to air out one of your jokes if it's like not a fleshed out concept, but I think we can cut this if you're like, I don't want people to hear this yet. But you made a comment about some guy having a $25,000 a month apartment, and then just immediately you're like, can I marry this man?
Oh my God.
It's so fucking funny.
I met this guy at a wedding. He lives across the street from me in New York. We met in Memphis. I know where he lives because I go.
Yeah, please explain this. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Because I go to the New York. And I was like, some asshole won't let them turn the music up because it's too loud. And he was like, that's me.
Oh, that is
wow,
hilarious.
That's adorable.
And I was like, oh my God, this guy's my soulmate. Oh. And the whole night we're vibing. And I was like, I'm not going to go back with him because I'm going to marry him. So I have to.
Correct.
Anyway, he asked me out on my flight. He was supposed to be on my flight back. He missed the flight.
Where? Oh, so the wedding was in Memphis.
What? Yeah. He missed the flight. He was like, I'm so sorry I missed it. Here's a dinner reservation for tomorrow night.
Nice.
2 hours?
Where?
I forget.
Was it somewhere sick?
It wasn't as sick for once I zilled his apartment. I was like, step it up, bitch.
But isn't that like hot of him to like not think he needs to take you to like Noma or whatever?
Yeah, he was. I really thought I was going to marry this guy. And he cancels 2 hours before because he has a girlfriend. And
he was in a relationship.
He was in a relationship.
Ooh.
And then he did this back and forth shit with me so many times. He'd be like, oh, like texting me. And then I know a girl who he hooked up with years ago. We are random Instagram friends by accident. And I was like, you follow him? Because I didn't want to follow each other on Instagram.
You did a lot of research, by the way.
This man was my husband, all right? I had to do a background check.
Due diligence.
And anyway, he asked me out. Meanwhile, he asked me out again. They were going to Italy the next week. I was like,
Him and his girlfriend.
And then he finds out I'm going to Miami for New Year's. He contacts me. He's like, we have to meet up. Here's our itinerary. Let's spend the weekend together. I go, before we do that.
Let's spend the weekend together.
Yes.
Damn.
And so I go, before we do that, can you and I hang out one-on-one before we bring our friends into this? Like, I think it's weird that we're just meeting for the first time in 6 months after all this shit. Like, has me fly down early. I changed my
You
flight.
went?
I went down early. I know.
I love this.
Listen.
He bails on me
What the fuck?
again.
Because his girlfriend probably came down.
This is the best part. So he bails on me again. I send him, this is when I quit Adderall. Because I sent him 120 text messages about why he's a piece of shit. And because I was like, I was on one. And then my friend in LA who randomly knows him, knows the story, calls me and goes, is that guy's name Chris? And I was like, yes, how do you know that? I guess I shouldn't say his name. Generic name.
Bleep it.
She is a therapist in New York. And my friend had told her the story about this guy, and she goes,
This sounds familiar.
she's like, this sounds familiar. Is his name Chris? She goes, my client went down there with him. She's a 22-year-old who's a twin. I was like, no wonder he didn't hit me. And I guess her dad recently died, and she was spending money like crazy. So my friend was like, he has a type. It's a girl who's gone through a bunch of trauma and is spending her money like crazy.
Did she charter a boat for the weekend? That's my type, dude.
Yeah, I chartered a boat because he invited me on a boat, and I had promised my friends we were going on a boat. And then he bailed, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, I have to charter a boat by myself.
Oh my God.
And he had a girlfriend. Did he just forget?
He apparently
Every time
they
he
broke
got
up
horny?
before Miami because he invited a bunch of girls down.
That's like so sad. Oh my God. I'm gonna cry.
Wait,
Okay.
it's sad for who?
For you. Oh my God.
When you cry of all the stories.
You poor thing. So where's the boat? And you're like, don't worry, the boat, we're still gonna have it.
My friends were like, we're so excited for this boat. And then he bailed, and I was so humiliated. I was like, yeah, we got one. And then we invite a bunch of locals from Miami to come on the boat because I got a $2,500 boat for 3 hours. It was a fucking extreme boat.
Yo, this boat was the boat, dude.
Yeah.
This is the boat.
Yeah.
Wait, let's back up for a sec. How long after you turned your phone off airplane mode, after you landed in Miami, did you realize that he was bailing on you?
So he bailed on me like right before I got on my flight.
Oh.
What'd he say?
He was like, hey, I'm really sorry, I have to work.
And did you block him?
At the work.
I just didn't answer.
Got it.
I didn't answer. And then he texted me later that night, like, how was your day? Trying to, like, I guess fuck me. Because it's like, my friend goes, I think what he did was he said he would meet you for brunch and wanted to look like he put the effort in so he would have sex with you. So you would have sex with him later.
Interesting.
And then it came out, my friend whose wedding it was, she was like, yeah, he's kind of a piece of shit. He cheats on every girl he's been with. And I'm like, where was this information?
Needed that. Could have been a lot of helpful yesterday. What was that from?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But you did it well.
Thank you.
But yeah, so he has, his apartment, because he has you've seen the building.
I have. It's nice.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Damn, that rules.
So what was the last exchange or the most recent exchange between the two of you?
I saw him on the street.
You saw him on the street.
And he turned towards, we're walking on the street. He turns towards the building and does one.
Oh, coward.
Are you guys crossing each other?
Yeah, we're crossing each other.
Okay.
And he turns away. Because I really let him have it.
Good. He deserved it.
And did he respond to your 100 text message?
I made him. I called him the next day. And I was like, you owe me an explanation for this. And he was just like, it was just a series of miscommunications. And I feel like...
What the fuck?
You think a guy like that's gonna be like take full responsibility?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. They never do. They're just gonna call you a giggler.
Yeah. But it's funny because I'm trying to do a bit where he's wedding hot. Because when I saw him in the street, I was like, he's like not as hot as his apartment is on Zillow.
Right.
Yeah.
Wedding hot's funny.
It's so, I was like, this man is like, he's so hot, he's so rich, he's so nice. And none of that was true. I mean, he's so rich, but money comes and goes, as I've learned.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, look, but hopefully it's coming back.
Hopefully
it's coming
I don't
back.
know but then he also rents. So I'm like, a guy who rents a $25,000 apartment, commitment is not his thing.
Interesting. But he probably has some like tax thing that like makes a lot of sense or something. I always wonder that.
Or his job pays for it.
Right.
God, I'm getting wet
Snooze.
just talking about it.
Okay, so are you in the market for a boyfriend theoretically? You say it, but I wasn't sure if you were like joking or how much you meant it.
I think I said I want a boyfriend, but I don't want to. I've been on a few dates recently.
You just want it to be easy and
I want it to be
work out.
easy
Okay.
and work out.
So anybody listening, if you think you're a good candidate for Hannah,
I think my ex-boyfriend listens to this.
excellent.
We have smart, attractive.
We have some
people
we have some
of
decent
all
people
genders
here.
listening to the podcast.
We have nice people listening.
Yeah.
We'll pre-screen you guys to make sure.
I feel like I've sounded insane on this podcast.
Nah, dude. It was our fault if you did. I mean, we asked you things that require. I mean, you were willing to share with us. It's been very interesting, and your journey is both fascinating and hilarious.
Thank you.
And I know that that might sound inconsiderate, but that's the goal. Because you are
not
obviously using
inconsiderate.
all of this for funny shit because you're a hilarious comedian. So before we go, I want to ask a couple things. So when it comes to guys, how old would you go with
50.
50? And you would like date a 50-year-old?
I would date a 50-year-old.
What if he had never been married? Do you prefer a divorced 50-year-old?
I think so, yeah. Like, I went out with a guy recently who's 37, and then it came out that he had been engaged. And that made me feel better in a weird way.
But 37, I mean, I'm 37. Like, if I were not in a relationship, like, I could easily, if I didn't find Hill Dog, I could easily see myself still being single. Would you think that was a red flag? Or is it different because I'm a comedian?
It's different because you're a comedian.
Okay.
And I talked to my friends about this before I went out with him. I'm like, he's 37. I don't know.
Was he in New York?
He's in New York. Yeah. But after the finance guy who bailed on me so many times and then was cheating on his girlfriend.
How old was he?
37.
Got it.
And I'm a little more skeptical, but I think, this guy had a hilarious story.
25,000 man?
No, the 37-year-old who got
other
bailed
37-year-old.
on. He was broken up with the night before he was supposed to go to a private Tanzania safari. So he had to go on a safari by himself with candlelight dinners. He's telling me this story, and I'm like, it was like the hottest thing I've ever heard. I was like, oh, God, you went. First of all, you have the money for a 101 safari in one of those villas, on the water.
He was like, hey, it was already paid for.
It was already paid for.
Was he being positive about it?
That's a good question. Or was he sulking?
Because he said that it randomly came out. Yeah. He's like crying. He's like stomping his feet.
He's stomping.
I looked across that table and I started hallucinating that she was there.
Well, he was like, it didn't end bad. Well, it didn't end. He was like, well, it didn't end bad. We ended. And then he was, it was like that. I was like, what happened? And then he told me that story, and I was like, woof. But it was hot to me because I was like, one, you can afford this, and nice. I sound like a gold digger, but.
Listen, you're pragmatic. It's tough
just like
out
the
there.
finer things in life.
It's tough out there.
But the fact that he went alone was hot to me because some guys wouldn't be able to do that.
Agreed.
And
I
he
agree
was
that
able
that's
to go and have a 5-night candlelight dinner alone. That's pretty.
And apparently it's like bougie as fuck. Like I know that that's like a popular honeymoon these days. And like they apparently are very good at like making it worth the insane amount of money you pay for that.
Yeah.
Which I know you like.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
so 50.
But I would say 50.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you think that's too old?
No, I don't think anything. I'm just wondering what you think. Because to me, it's like, I don't know. Like I know that eventually you get old enough where suddenly way more people become viable partners. Like when you're 18, like you'd never date a 20, like maybe you would, but like it's weirder to date a 25-year-old when you're 18.
Yeah.
That age difference means nothing in a few years. And then suddenly you're a 25-year-old woman and like these 45-year-old men suddenly seem like they make sense. Like I'm making things up. You know what I mean?
No, I also think because of what I do and I'm just so public with my information, I need a guy who's like old enough where he like doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? He's been through it all. He's like, I don't really care. I talk about herpes. You know what I mean? I talk about a lot of shit on stage where I need a guy who's like, do your thing.
Whatever.
And I think a 50-year-old or late 40s would, you know, they've been through enough where it's like, whatever.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're saying. But I would encourage you to not make assumptions.
Yeah, date some 18-year-olds.
You never know. I mean, you just never know. Like, I don't know. The other thing too, like the thing that sucks, I would imagine with stuff like this is I bet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I bet that this scenario will arise from time to time where somebody acts like they're fine with things, but then they start holding them against you as time goes on. Is that a thing that's happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's got to be shitty.
Mm-hmm. But I know I'm in enough therapy to know that's on them.
Totally. It's like their bullshit, whatever it is. Yeah.
It sucks because I'm like, oh, you suck. But I don't take it as personally.
Which is why you need a man. And the age with which we become men seems to be extending further down the road. So that 30-year-old man is more likely to be a boy these days than in previous generations.
Yeah. I'd say I've been going out with guys who are like 37 to 40.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be opposed to like a 48-year-old.
What about a 32-year-old?
I'm 31, but that feels so young to me.
Interesting. What about, okay, so is it just a purely timeline thing? So it's like, oh, he's 32, I'm 31. He's not going to want to do XYZ for a while, and that may not make sense for me based on how old I am. Is it like that, or it's just like a vibe thing, like he's too young?
I think it's a vibe thing. He's too young. Like my boyfriend right before rehab was around my age, and it fell off the rails, but I was like, oh, I was literally like, this guy's so immature and he's so unsure of who he is that this is a disaster. And I think it just feels like later in life guys know who they are more.
Yeah. No,
and I've been through like a lot of shit, obviously. We've talked about on the podcast where I'm like, I need someone who's like been through a lot of life and seen a lot. Yes.
No, and I get it too. Like I think I just recently started to really feel like a fucking man. Like I'm a grown ass man now, bro. It took me a while to get there. Like as in my 20s, I did not feel like a man at all. I felt very dependent, even though there was no one to depend on. I just still was like, I can't get this done. I just can't do it. I can't get it together. And now I have like, as time has gone on, I feel like more like a man. But the only point, not to pat myself on the back, it's taken me a while. But just kind of harping on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so. And then like after I bought a house, I was like, okay, I'm like a full adult now. Even,
bitch.
You know, when you're like, all right, I need someone with some boots on, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Someone who knows where they're just has their shit figured out.
Yeah.
And I'm still like young enough where it's like, oh yeah, I got a young I want to be like a young girlfriend to someone.
Well, this is what you need. We need you to do. So we need you.
He's got the plan.
This is a bad idea. Never mind.
No, I want to hear it.
It was a stupid idea. Well, now I was thinking because you may not even need the money for the apartment, but what you could do is we don't need to let people know that you own your apartment. So then you can sell it and get all the money, and then like. You don't want your new guy getting in on your apartment.
No. I would want to rent it out and then move up wherever he is. Sick. I'm trying to move up in the world. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's why like guy with roommates is kind of a turn off to me. No
Yeah,
offense.
no. I know. When I met my my fiance, I not only had roommates, I lived with a family. I lived with a family in there, and which made no sense. When I explained it, it didn't make it better. Like like I wasn't, you know what I mean? So anyway, that was a problem for me. And you know, you get it. Like if somebody's impressed. Now the house that I lived in was very, 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 very nice. They were generous enough to let me live there with them.
Did you know this family?
Yeah, they're friends of mine, but it's a full ass family. Parents, adult children, but like 20s children. I met them through tennis when I used to do that as my summer job. We became very, very good friends. And they were kind enough to be like, while you're figuring it out, just come live with us. We love you. We like having you around. Just come live with us.
Where was the house?
On the Upper East Side.
Nice.
And it's like probably, all things considered, the nicest house I've ever seen. Like, there is insane shit in the house. I don't want to get into too much specifics.
Did you have your own floor?
No. But I have my own room, obviously. But I did not have my own floor.
You bunked with the parents?
And to the point where if Hill Dog came over for the night, she would leave in the morning and to go to work, and there would be like a likelihood of bumping into the parents, who we all knew and were fine with. But like, as she cleverly said, when she bumped into the mom, she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to like bump into you in the morning," which I thought was a very like astute thing to say.
The mom said that, or
no, she said it to the mom.
Oh yeah,
because like, yeah, you don't. Why are you bumping? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, whoa, good, well played. Anyway, but like, she obviously did not like that about my situation.
But love is love. Do you believe in soulmates?
Specifically, maybe not. But I do think that there's like various soulmates out there, potentially. And she's certainly one of them.
I hope it's real.
Soulmates?
Yeah, I hope so. Because then it will happen.
But, you know, we're talking about odds on the show. The odds, like, I do really believe that there might be multiple soulmates for you, in theory. You know, personality traits. It doesn't need to be the one person. It's too much. The stakes are too high.
I did, after the neighbor, the guy across the street, turn out to be a total dud. And I really fantasized that.
Fantasize what?
Him in our life together.
Yes.
In his loft.
$25,000 a month.
Yeah, $25,000 a month loft. I was like, oh, I don't have a lot of closet space. Good thing he's my neighbor. Once that really, the facade wore off, I believe in it less.
We were talking about the word facade earlier. Doesn't matter. But you believe in soulmates less.
Yeah.
Well, you can't decide who your soulmate is because of something like that.
A
lot of guys have apartments like that, by the way. You
Yeah.
just need to find them.
But at a wedding in Memphis, I guess the couple that got married does live in New York, so it's not totally crazy. But
That's too cute of a meeting between the two for you to not want to pursue that. So
Right?
I totally understand. Like, that is how all rom-coms start, with a happy ending.
Yeah, but you were poisoned by his stat sheet. Your brain was poisoned.
it was. Yeah. Had he been living with a family, I'd be like, what a coincidence, you know?
He's like, he's like, I have a girlfriend. And you're like, I don't care. You're my soulmate. We're going to have a life together.
I literally was like, he was like, but we're going to break up. I was like, great.
Oh, yep. Great. Works. That works.
That works. Figure it out. And then once
We're on the rocks right now.
but yeah, no. So I guess I am looking for
The right person.
the right person.
But you're in no rush.
I'm not in a rush. I've just been in such a rush that I've been, you know, like a Tasmanian devil that keeps hitting things. So I need to just take it slow.
Cool. All right. Well, Hannah, it has been great learning more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Very interesting stuff. Wow, it's been a wild ride up to this point for all of us and for you. Looking forward to what you have going on in the future. You have any stuff you want to promote? What's your Instagram, etc.?
Yes, my Instagram is Hans Dickie, HANSDICKIE. And then I just restarted my podcast, rebranded. It's Goofy Cunt Nation. Check it out.
Love it. GCN.
Goofy
Cunt Nation. Check it out. We got Lynch here.
Yeah, check out. Oh, yeah, that's my camera. Check me out. Ryan is really polite. Send us emails at oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Questions, thoughts, stories, grievances. Send them our way. We'd love to hear from you.
All that shit. I'm going to be at the Emmaus, I think the Emmaus Theater. I'm not sure what it's called, but in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, March 30th. I'm in DC the 4th to the 6th of April at the Comedy Loft. Punchline, 7th of April. And then I got a bunch of other dates. Boston, Portland, notjulio.com. Check it out. Come see a show. That is all. Goodbye.